Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Elevate, an online learning platform for fundraising event professionals. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristin Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello, and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. Today is our final episode of season 2. I can't believe that this is already the end of season 2. We wanted to spend some time, just the two of us. You have myself and Kristin here today, talking about the world of events right now. We've spent a lot of time this season talking about the evolving world we're in, how to respond, what to do, what we're seeing, trends we're seeing. But we really just wanted to dive into events because we know that as the summer hits, a lot of organizations are thinking about their fall fundraising events. Oftentimes, fall fundraising events are the big ones, the big galas, the end of year campaigns that are happening. And so we wanted to really give you some tools and prep you for kind of that plan ahead. And we wanted to talk about what's changing in the sector, fundraising trends, evolution. So today is sort of our wrap-up episode for season 2. And we can't wrap up without first just thanking our production partners that have been with us in every episode this season, the AV department. We're here in our beautiful studio from the AV department.
Absolutely lovely studio with our lovely, lovely production team.
Yes,
we cannot thank them enough.
They're an incredible group that is just like so willing to jump in with us. But they also work in the nonprofit space and are constantly helping organizations to grow and evolve what's possible for them. So we just really appreciate their partnership. We've also seen in this past year that this administration, the current geopolitical landscape, has really changed, and for the good and the bad, has really changed the nonprofit landscape, where funding is coming from. And one thing is clear more than ever before is that during the pandemic, we saw a loss in connection. We saw a loss in that deep investment in each other, in community, and we saw individual giving decline during the pandemic times. And as we've come out of the pandemic, we've seen the importance of gathering as a way to reconnect. Mm-hmm. Now we are seeing the evolution of communities creating safety networks, and communities creating a network of resource. And where resources pulling away in one area, other people are stepping into that. And that has been kind of our hopeful message that we've seen as we've been scared, as we've been nervous about the world we're living in. We've also seen a lot of hope in the fact that there are people stepping into those spaces. And when we bring people together and gather, we see so much potential in that. So that's a little bit about what we want to dive into today.
Well, and I think to name the thing when we're talking about gathering, the collective voice that's happening is happening by gathering.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we haven't seen protests like this, and it's folks coming together and collective power and what happens when human beings are in rooms with other human beings.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I think we've seen the big change makers this last year. We're really seeing is the importance of gathering. Mm-hmm. Coupled with the use and influence of AI.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting milieu to be sort of trafficking in. We have brought in guests to try to start to scratch the surface of AI because we see its importance and we see what's its use and proliferation and what's happening and trying to bring folks into that conversation in a responsible way. But we know events. Mm-hmm. So what's been different in 2025 for fundraising events, Sam?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've seen are more events. Yeah. I've seen organizations that are starting to think about events as a way to coalesce their community. So folks have been adding a lot of smaller, curated, very specific goal in mind events. I think we're still seeing the big gala gathering. That's kind of the big opportunity that a lot of organizations have, but it's a big labor lift. It's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. The shift there that we're seeing in the big gala world is the importance of connection, the importance of speaking truth to the moment and sharing with people what's currently going on, the importance of celebration together. And we've seen actually sponsorship increase in this time. But the more specifically, the trend that we've seen in the nonprofit space, separate from the gala world, is more gatherings that are occurring. that idea of we're going to bring our board together to celebrate the work that they're doing. We're going to bring our staff together to have some refresh and refuel and some team building time. We're going to be very intentional about bringing volunteers to the table. We're going to be hosting dinner parties and tours to be able to really target specific audiences with specific messages. And right after the election, I was listening to some of the like political pundits talk about what now. And the first call to action I heard at that time was find your community. And we're seeing that happen in the nonprofit space more than ever. What about you? What are the things that you've started to really see change?
I think in terms of what has had the most impact at gatherings is when those organizations and those gatherings center the importance of celebration.
Yeah.
And when I look at that, okay, on its surface, celebration feels good.
Right.
When you get people together and you're doing that thing, celebration feels like a thing to lean into and it feels good. But I think for me, when I look at it, it's a contrast.
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
so many ways, the world outside is a dumpster fire for a lot of people for a whole host of reasons, that when they are giving you their time and resource, we're watching attention spans diminish. We're watching what donors are willing to give to us in terms of their time be less. We need to do more with it.
Yeah.
And the celebration as an anchor point actually really starts to make them understand our appreciation of what they've stepped in to be a part of.
Yeah.
It feels like, this event should be a celebration of what we're accomplishing together. But I don't know that we've always done that.
Yeah.
And so not only is it for our donors, it's for our staff that are in that room.
It's for ourselves.
It's for ourselves. It's for the communities that we're a part of and that we provide services to. And so when I think when we start to name that and do that, the lean in, it becomes this thing people want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And if it's a fundraising event, the fundraising comes out of that celebration and becomes an additional thing to celebrate. I think sometimes people think like, that's the wrong tone for serious fundraising.
Right. Yes.
And I would take issue with that. I think, you alluded to connection, and the neuroscience of connection is imperative for folks right now, especially when we feel like things are being so divided and we are being so intentionally separated, that ability to connect around, we're talking about connecting around mission-based work. This isn't around connecting around a stock price. This is my personal mission and your organization's mission, and we're going to go do this amazing stuff together. And so I think that connection to mission, but also connection to people. I'm really have been watching donors watch each other this year at events, and it's fascinating to me. I think sometimes we forget about that. That's another audience in the room that's being spoken to is donor to donor. I think sometimes it's just us to donor, or client to donor. But donors are talking to each other in these spaces. When you have a social hour, who do you think they're talking to?
Right.
And so when it feels good, when it feels effortless, when it feels like it's impactful and something they want to be a part of, they're telling each other that.
Yeah.
They're inviting each other with that written on the invite that they're handing out. So I think thinking about that, because those connections are leading to empowerment and resilience and connection outside of the room. And that's the biggest goal, right? If you've spent all this time and resource on a gathering, whatever the scale of it is, you want it to have legs after.
Well, I want to bring a little microscope to what you just said. I always look for case studies, examples. How do we apply something that's happening to our work? When we see something really work, how do we then apply that?
Yep.
So, a couple of things that you mentioned, protest actions.
Yep.
So in the protest actions, we are seeing that the big marches that are occurring, the peaceful marches that are really bringing people together to coalesce, are tapping into a couple of those things.
Yep.
It is a moment to connect to each other. So you have that biological, I am a part of something. I am not alone in this, which helps to build resilience. Joy as an act of resistance, we are seeing dancing and celebration and music and drum lines, because that literally syncs our heartbeats together, right? When we're all moving to the same beat, when we're all marching to the same chant, the call and response nature of a chant helps people to feel empowered, helps people to feel that they are a part of something. And that's something we can bring into our own gatherings. That moment where we ask people to call and respond, or we ask people to stand up and be counted.
Yep.
Though that we bring music in to bring that like heartbeat rhythm connection together, it creates a sense of community, a sense of joy, a sense of celebration. And that is an act of resilience. It's an act of protest, but it's also a way for people to feel the sense of that's something I want to stay a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's important right now when we're thinking about our nonprofit events. How do we get people more invested in our work? As we lose a federal fund, how do we replace that with individual grant or individual gift? And I think giving people a place where they feel seen, where they want to be a part of it, is a really powerful tool that we have in our arsenal.
Yep.
And that the protest actions are a really great example where we can take some of those elements that we witness and then bring those into our own events to replicate and create that sense of belonging, connection, community, celebration, joy. Those are powerful motivators for folks.
Yeah. And I'm always looking at an event from the lens of how do we eliminate distance?
Yeah.
You know, and getting people in a room I mean, there's, in conflict resolution, it's like, well, let's get everybody at the table. Right. And that's literally, that's literally about eliminating physical distance. And so when you're gathering folks in person, how do you create intimacy? It is possible to create intimacy in a room of 300 people and eliminate distance. And the shortest path to that is to get our heartbeats to sync. And getting our heartbeats to sync is around the stories that we tell.
Yeah.
Study out of London where people sat in a theater and got wired up to measure respiration and heartbeat when this group of strangers watched a play live on stage in front of them. In watching that story unfold, their heartbeats synced up and were beating in the same way. And you can feel it when you're in harmony, sitting shoulder to shoulder with somebody versus you can feel them agitated and not. It's a different feeling to be in space. And we as the program directors of our event can really become architects of that in looking at the stories that we tell.
Yeah.
And what we're putting in front of folks. And I think gladly, the stories I'm seeing have impact are stories of resilience, empowerment. They are not for 69 cents a day, the price, the cup of a price. Like we have to, as a sector, have moved completely divested from that kind of storytelling and disempowerment.
Your dollar yield.
Yeah. Where we're somehow trafficking in the salvation of other people.
Right.
That's not actually the story.
Yeah.
The story is that people are living their lives and we get to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it's bringing the donor in, but it's not having the director or the donor direct that and have us direct it in a certain way to make we still hear every once in a while, I want to tell a story that really makes them cry. That's how we're going to get the money out of them. And honestly, that's not what's happening.
Right.
People don't know what to do with that emotion sometimes.
Well, and I would argue in that case, I mean, now we're diving into kind of the stories that generate fundraising, but I would argue in that case that there are hundreds of emotions that we feel. Yep. And what we're trying to do is help people to walk in someone else's shoes and feel empowered and feel connected and feel that this is mission aligned for them, right? That they have that belief and connection to mission.
We're trying to shepherd people towards understanding of each other's experience.
But we can feel all the feels. It doesn't just have to be tears.
In the same way you can have celebration at a fundraising event.
Yes.
All of that can be true. So speaking of fundraising.
Okay.
Key fundraising elements and where folks should be focusing their efforts. Let's talk about pre-event revenue. What are you seeing work in the way of sponsorship and ticket sales? Well,
this is an area that we've seen shift a little bit. So I think there was this sort of wait and see that happened at the beginning of the year as we were moving into like inauguration time here in the United States. There was kind of a wait and see around giving. Yep. And I think it was a little bit harder to fill seats. It was a little bit harder to engage sponsors. Now what we've seen a shift to is that marketing trends are showing that corporate giving, corporate donations and support are oftentimes yielding better customer relations and better employee retention. And so they're redirecting a lot of their marketing dollars to sponsorship dollars. So we've seen event sponsorship go up. Yep. oftentimes that sponsorship dollar is associated with a bigger partnership opportunity. So we've seen a lot of organizations that have not only received more income, but also have developed bigger partnerships that are helping their mission, helping their staffing, helping to support the work that they're doing because big corporations are redirecting some of that support. And then when it comes to things like individual tickets, the big thing that we have focused on forever has been a strategy of how do you fill your room with table sales so that you identify key stakeholders, board members, major donors who are bringing new people to your organization and filling a table. That's still true. Yep. We're still seeing that is an easier path toward bringing big donors in the room and having an investment level from your key stakeholders. It's a lot easier to fill a 500 person room with 50 individual tables and asks than it is with 500 individual ticket sales. Generally, ticket sales remain a low sort of budget item. We see, 20% or less of the people in your room are there as an individual ticket buyer.
Well, and table sales have the opportunity to straddle the gap between transaction and relationship, because you're tapping a table host who's then going to utilize their relationships to people to encourage them to come and ask them to come be a part of an event, versus you stuck in a transition or I can't do that today, in a transaction cycle with them where you're asking them to buy a ticket. That table host is actually asking them to be a part of their community.
Yeah, it's a different ask.
And talking about why this organization and why this work and why they should come.
Well, and for organizations out there that are thinking about their fall fundraising events, I would definitely recommend that this summer be focused on sponsorship solicitation. We had an episode with Mariah Monique that we're going to be playing as an encore episode over the summer, because it was a really big deep dive opportunity to understand, how do I take my sponsorship to the next level? Yep. So if you're planning your fall fundraising event right now, this is the perfect time, because budget season for corporations usually is in the fall. And if you can get ahead of their budget cycle, you can often move that needle a lot further. So this is a great time for corporate solicitation and corporate giving conversations. We've also seen a lot of shifts in the event itself. The program of the event has shifted. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing this season in programming for our big gala and gatherings?
Yeah, I think pulling that celebration thread through, really being the architects of moments of joy and celebration that are intentionally designed at your event. We're a sector based on scarcity and need.
Right.
And sometimes our focus in our programming is on the big, sometimes desperate stakes to being able to do our work. I think the political atmosphere has amped that up by a lot of elimination of federal funding for some turnkey programs for organizations that they never thought would go away.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a choice to be made about, do you continue to speak from that place of desperation and scarcity, or do you find the joy to persevere and collect people and bring them along with you?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that gravitational pull toward joy and celebration and doing this work together and rolling up our shirt sleeves. It's not that you're not transparent.
Right. And it's not Pollyanna, right?
And it's not Pollyanna, but both can be true. And I think that's what provides some balance for people being able to lean in.
I think it gives people a sense of solutions too.
Absolutely. They can be activated and they can feel like they're having impact. I think the use of the word we, I've always been a huge proponent of, but I think it's even more important now. And I think when we're using the word we in our programs, I don't mean you as an organization.
Right.
When we think about collapsing distance, one of the other shortest or the easiest ways to shorten that distance is we. And when you're using we, you mean that community.
Right.
Those donors, your staff, the communities you work with. We are working on this together.
Yeah.
And I think that helps close distance with donors.
Yeah.
It also makes donors feel closer to each other. There's a beauty of sitting in rounds in a room and having donors look across space to one another.
Yeah.
And feel like they are a part of a community together. So
I'm going to pause you on that, because I want to talk about that. that is a logistics element that people can deploy, right? Like that is a really quick and simple logistics element that by putting your stage in the round instead of at the front of a big room where donors are far away, when you put a stage in the round, it allows your donors to be looking across the room at each other. So it's a really easy way to bring people closer together, close the distance.
And, there can be some fundraising strategy deployed in that as well. But I think it's really, we're at a time where there's a lot of distance between people. And so when you're creating a space that doesn't feel that, where people feel like they're a part of something, that's going to stick out to them. That experience, it feels like, well, duh. But people leave events not feeling that way because we actually haven't intentionally designed them that way. We've assumed that will be an outcome. But unless you bake it in, it's not a for sure, And so really taking a look at that, I think taking a look at powerful speeches happening on stage, this is not a time to, Jim has to speak every year.
Right.
Get in there, sit down. If Jim's your speaker, you get Jim to agree to let's talk about
delivering on content.
But also, why does Jim care? Why is Jim on that stage? Like I often do every intake with a speaker, starting with, why do you do this work? Or what excites you about this work right now? If we want to talk about the joy celebration piece, we can say, what makes you most scared, nervous, insert word here about this work? Or what are you most excited about right now? What's the opportunity right now? What do donors need to know right now? It's framing and it's taking a look at what that is and what's an invite in. And those speeches, not long. Call and response is a great thing. Patterns, short sentences, like just really thinking about when you stand there and practice your speech, is a speech you want to hear? Are you bored giving it? Then stop and let's figure out what's a different way. And client-centered impact stories that are hopeful. I think we've always talked about this, but making sure we tell the whole story. That the person that we're telling, whose story we're working with for them to tell their story, thinking about who the storyteller is and empowering them to do that, but also making sure that they're in a space in their journey where we call it the rear view mirror, where they're able to see the whole arc of their story.
That they have perspective.
I think sometimes we feel like, oh my gosh, we have to get this story. They just finished the program. That doesn't give them the whole opportunity of their story in many ways. It may not have gelled. Like we all know when a big thing happens to us, sometimes it takes a little while. To understand what that means for us, right? When we tell that story to other people. And so I think making the client the center of the story, making them the storyteller and the center of the narrative, and consent, and making sure that every time we use that story and every time we tell their story, that they have enthusiastically said yes for us to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this sort of environment that we sit in right now. I think that you mentioned earlier, the addition of AI, there's an AI opportunity for us to utilize that tool as a way to improve upon, right? And that's a place that I want to caution folks about the individual who is a client whose story you are sharing. As the storyteller, that storyteller needs the ability for their voice to be the most powerful voice, that their story, their experience, their narrative is being uplifted and celebrated. And so from an equitable framework, or in sort of the lens of client-based storytelling, those who we serve and impact in our mission, we want to make sure that we're centering their authentic voice. Now, where I will encourage the AI is on your previous point of the speakers and the speeches and the people on your stage that are delivering content about the message. You mentioned oration patterns like call and response or repeating a refrain. These are things that are like tools that you see when you're in church, right? Like this is your chance to take people to the church of your mission for one night. That's a place where you can draft your speech in your words with the message you want delivered, and then ask AI as a tool to help you by incorporating strong oration tools to make this a compelling call to action for your audience, or to make this a really exciting speech things that will help you to refine your speech making.
And I think, excuse me, too, in that I do want to just sort of put the asterisk of authenticity.
Yes.
Because I do think that, Mina Das was talking to us about this in her episode, where in terms of AI feeding the beast so Kristin wrote a speech for herself and puts it in AI, and AI gives me this speech back, and making sure that I hold on to what's Kristin about the speech,
right,
and what's a speech I would deliver. And this is not to say that we shouldn't continue to shepherd leadership toward greatness in their oration skills. We all have the capacity to continue to learn and deliver better speeches. I just want to make sure that people are giving speeches they can see themselves giving to that authenticity in the same way that our maybe our special appeal story is telling their story as they would tell it. It's like, how do we have Jim up there still be Jim, but Jim plus, right? Like, and finding that calibrated balance of what that is. But we've also seen some of our amazing executive directors doing at their event for the last 10 years. And I can remember where we started.
Yeah.
And they are up there giving me lessons in how to do this and what this looks like now. And that's just that continued build over time of actually them really seeing themselves and their power and what that is on stage too.
I think that the ownership of their power is an interesting thing too that's evolved in the past year. The need for that moment to land, the need for that message to land has definitely shifted our executive directors and CEOs from I'm so busy and getting to event day is just like one of the many things to I need to be prepared to step on that stage. So we've seen a lot more speaker coaches this year. We've seen a lot more prep and rehearsal and practice and
better timelines. Folks are thinking about it, 3 months out, 4 months out. Yes, things still change, like the world keeps happening and you can continue to adjust.
But giving yourself time with the speech to feel prepared. Our friend Jenna Watanabe, who's at the Fundraising Event Company, our subsidiary partners that work with so many organizations, she has a coaching method or recommendation she gives to a lot of his executive directors about recording yourself and watching the recording so that you can help yourself prepare and feel rehearsed and feel practice and feel like this is the speech that you want to deliver. And that shift has transformed some of the possibilities in those moments.
It shouldn't be insert speaker here.
Right. Yes.
It should be that they're working together.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break.
Great.
Thank some of our amazing partners. And when we come back, we're going to get a little bit into the weeds of building that event program.
Great.
We'll be right back.
Ready to take your fundraising to the next level? Need to get unstuck in your event planning? Now's your chance to connect directly with the experts behind the Fundraising Elevator. Book a one-on-one consulting session with Sam for strategic planning and fundraising strategy, with Kristin for your program and storytelling, or Mary for your registration and data tools. They're here to provide you personalized answers to all your event questions. Don't wait. Raise more at your next fundraising event. Book your session today at elevatenonprofit.com. You can also find the link in the show notes.
Welcome back. It is just Sam and I, Kristin, here today. We are talking about the things we've seen this year in fundraising events specifically. This is the close of season two of the Fundraising Elevator. I can't believe it. We are so grateful to everybody, specifically the AV department, for helping us make this dream come to life. Before the break, we were talking about building moments of intentional joy. How do you recommend our nonprofit friends build that into their program?
Well, we talked about a couple of things like the call and response, the opportunity for people to feel like a we in the moment, like I feel connected to this. We've seen a lot of music and dance incorporated this past year. So a lot of performance elements. Oftentimes the simplicity of like an opening or a closing performance. We've seen the use of DJs throughout the program so that every time a new speaker gets on stage, the DJ is like setting the tone with music, which is so fabulous and such an easy way to like bring that energy and keep that energy up. I think a really good professional benefit auctioneer that's their goal, right? Is to bring the joy of fundraising to the event every single time. So I think that's a big one. And then little opportunities for surprise and delight. We had an organization where their centerpieces were these beautiful centerpieces that had been donated, and they had lots of conversation about whether or not to sell the centerpiece. And in the end, they decided this was just a continuation of their hospitality. And so they had a moment where under one of the plates was a star at each table, and they got to take home the centerpiece. And it was such a simple act of giving, but just a moment of joy in the room. Like one person, across the room got so excited that they were taking the centerpiece home. They jumped up.
They won something.
Yeah. And they got to, have that beautiful gift to take home. So little moments of surprise and delight, I think, are a key element. And then one of the things that we've talked about in a number of episodes that I kind of want to come back to is Paul Zach's theory of immersion, because one element for increased participation, for people to feel that sense of joy and connection, is that they have to understand what's expected of them, that there has to be what he calls good staging.
Yeah.
So the clarity of communication ahead of the event about what to expect, the welcoming of the arrival at the event, making sure it's really clear where you're going, that there's clear signage, you have volunteers welcoming you. We had a lot more events this season that had things like a welcome drink right when you walk in, that had some sort of fun performance element during the reception so that you were greeted by something that was just full of joy. Those are all ways that we can really make sure that our program still really lifts up and celebrates and has an element of connection to it.
Well, and I think in terms of storytelling too, thinking through how those moments can actually be connected to mission. Is there a thread that connects those pieces so it doesn't totally feel like a non sequitur as well, can be helpful.
I had a favorite moment this fundraising season. We did the lunch event for the San Diego LGBTQ Center. And the San Diego Community Center is this big hub in the community. And their event was on the same day that the National Guard was called into the state of California. And, ICE was increasing their arrests. There was this high tension going on in Southern California at the time. And in that moment, there was this sort of gathering that felt like, are we on message? Are we on point? And
we were also waiting for a very large Supreme Court decision to come down with regard to trans rights in this country.
And the interesting element to me that immediately shifted the tone of the whole gathering into that place of joy and celebration and radically transformed their fundraising was that as folks walked in the door, they were greeted by an LGBTQ mariachi band. And that joyful music, that sort of act of excitement and declaration of who we are in this community and owning that, just brought everyone together.
It was absolutely kick-ass. Phones were out. People were
video and photos
collected. It was amazing.
And it was just a real high sort of opening to the event. They were in the lobby as folks arrived, and then they kind of led everyone into the room so that as folks got seated, they went to the stage and did one opening performance, and then the program started. And it was like we started on volume 10. And so we were already at the top, and then the program just continued to soar from there. So it really just set up this celebration moment. The photographer who, our event photographers are such a gift, but Callie came to me and said, it is such an act of joy and celebration in the face of fear that she's like, it makes me teary to see, but also so hopeful and celebratory. So that was a real highlight for me this season.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing.
Well, I want to dive a little bit into, because we talked before the break about pre-event revenue. I want to dive into the day of event revenue. We've seen a little shifting there. What have you started to see kind of trending?
The continued trend of less transactions and more relationship-based giving.
Yeah.
This means your appeal, your special appeal, your direct ask during your event, really focusing your time, attention, and strategy there.
Yeah.
And stating the need.
Yeah.
Again, not in that, like, if we've gotten those emails lately, right? And they're really, I'm going to go out on a limb. They're off-putting to me.
Yeah.
If we don't do X, we're closing our doors.
Right. Yep.
And then 6 months later from the same organization, I get the same email.
Yeah.
You're actually telling me the story
Of crisis.
of one, crisis, and two, not successful resolution of the crisis.
Right.
If it happens once and then you're good, you have your footing and we're off to the races, great. But I think we have to be careful about the tone and the language you use and what that actually conveys to donors. And so laying out the need, building the case for support is not that.
Right.
It's different, right? It's very clear. You can be transparent, and sometimes that transparency can be a little painful.
Yeah.
Like, we've lost all of this in federal funding.
Right.
We're looking to you to help us fill that gap
Yeah.
because the service needs aren't less.
Mm-hmm.
The folks we help still need it, So I think it's thinking about how to build the case for the need with clarity,
Yeah.
without desperation,
Yeah.
to be effective in that. And donors want to step into that space. I mean, this same luncheon, people stepped up and did things in the room that were amazing.
Yeah.
And they were brought in. They felt a part of something.
Mm-hmm.
The need was made clear.
Yeah.
And they stepped into the space. And that is the true spirit of community.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be building in these event spaces, right? It's a community.
Yeah.
It's all of us in this work, doing this work together. So those are the things. Get out of the transactions. Like,
Yeah.
we've been talking about this for a long time. Please don't do a silent auction.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
If
Don't
you
whisper
must,
that. Don't do a silent auction.
don't do a silent auction. If you have to do a live auction, small, small to build momentum. But even then, think long and hard about it. Think about what the auction items are. Think about your return on that.
Yeah.
You're better to go and do that work with donors to get pre-commits for your special appeal.
Yeah.
As a return on investment.
I want to take a pause on
Yeah.
that for just a second, because the auction report came out that there was a research study done about auction trends and auction data with One Cause. And that auction report shows that auction donors often become bigger donors.
Yep.
And there is an interest with a lot of folks still around how do we get something, have something fun, have something celebratory. But where we have found success is that because of the labor and the time and the intensity that goes into the silent auction, and because the silent auction is so often in juxtaposition with the connection, which we're trying so desperately to happen, where we have found success is very curated, specific live auction, and then online auction. The online auction is this opportunity to sort of reach a much bigger audience.
Take it out of the room. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be associated with your event. It can be, 3 months later or 4 months before. It can be used as a teaser. But it's an interesting way where some people want to engage from a place of, let me see if I can buy something for good. Yep. And other people, when you've gathered them together with your event and hear your stories and feel that sense of connection and community, have such a bigger capacity than just that auction package. Yep. And so because events are time intensive and labor intensive, we're really strong advocates that your time and energy goes into the relationship components and your storytelling and a great program, and that the effort and energy that is involved in an auction be something that you leverage a volunteer committee for, and even maybe separate from your event and use as an online campaign at another time during the year.
It can also be a great way to tell your story.
Yeah.
Thinking about auction items as they are mission related or aligned can be a great way to continue to tell the story. And I think sometimes folks miss some opportunity there that they could think about, like, we can tell this or do this, or, what do you think our nonprofit planners should carve out time for this summer?
Oh, summer vacation. That's what they should carve time out for.
Should.
This has been a hard year. And
it's only July.
It's only July. It's been a hard 5 years. When we look at what it took to get through the pandemic, when we look at what this administration has brought us in the world of change and big, hard discussions and fear, it is important that we really invest in radical self-care and filling our cup. So I hope everyone has some time off on the schedule. I hope that everyone is thinking about how to find their joy and be with community and not just at their desks. But also the summer focus, I find, especially if you're responsible for your event and your organization, this is a great time for sponsorship solicitation because a lot of corporate organizations are moving into fall budgeting. So if you can get your asks in and have conversations and lunch dates with your corporate partners before that, there's a real opportunity for you to be a part of their budget decision. So I really think that this is an opportunity for corporate asks to be top of mind. And then second, I think it is always that, outreach to donors. How do we continue to bring folks in? My favorite thing about the summer months is it allows us to, grab a quick cup of coffee or grab a drink out on a patio somewhere and enjoy actually, being outside at the same time that we're cultivating that relationship with our donors. What do you think folks should be doing this time of year?
I think folks should be reading books that have nothing to do with their work.
Yeah. Learning.
Read fiction.
Yeah.
Watch movies. And I say that because not only is it just really good on a learning to be human thing, and consuming art is always beneficial in my mind, but I often find that when I'm consuming long form narrative or watching films where they're utilizing all these different tools that are outside of my medium, I actually have those sparks of like, oh, we could do this for this client.
Yeah.
Or what about telling a story from this angle, that sort of thing. And I think the more stories we consume, the better storytellers we become.
Yeah.
And so that's always in my education bucket. I think when things tone down around me, it becomes a time where I can look for educational opportunities to get on the calendar for when the volume goes back up.
Yeah.
So I think, thinking about conferences, classes, online learning platforms, whatever that is for you, whatever is that mode for you. But also to your point of sitting on a patio, like being in community with people in our sector who, start a development director fight club with some folks at some organizations that you really like. Use the time to be like, hey, could we grab a drink and talk about what your plan is for the fall? Like building community outside of just you doing your job, I think is really important for folks as well.
Here in the Portland area, there is a group that has developed a gathering called Gather, and it is a happy hour for nonprofit professionals. And so if you're in the Portland area, check out Gather. The fundraising event company sponsors it. And I just think that an incredible opportunity to make those connections and feel like you're not alone in the work.
I think that's the biggest thing. And that's to me too, what reading books and watching movies and does, like sort of seeing threads through the diversity of experience that make things more universal. The more we can be human and learn and keep humaning, the better.
Yeah.
I do want to pull forward some specific conferences for folks this fall for people to consider. There's the Raise Conference that's in San Antonio, Texas, September 8th and 9th.
Produced by our friends at One Cause.
One Cause, yep. You can use the code Amplifier25 for a Swaim Strategies discount when you register. There is... been there since the beginning in Seattle. I do love it. It's because of what's in the title, the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference. It rotates locations this fall. It will be in sunny San Diego, California.
Yeah.
November 13th through the 15th. You should check that out. Our conference.
Yes.
The Elevate Conference.
Yes.
It's hybrid again this year, so you can attend in person with us in Portland, Oregon, or virtually from anywhere, March 3rd and 4th. Currently, there's an early bird discount running that gives you 20% off until September 15th. You can use the code EARLYELEVATE, and we'll put all of these in the show notes for folks so that they can get their fall conferences booked on the calendar, approved, ready to go.
These are three of our favorites. Well, thank you for bringing those forward. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll jump in the fundraising elevator.
Perfect.
We've been partnering with Greater Giving for over 20 years as our go-to event auction software. Greater Giving allows us to do our job, planning fundraising events, even better because we can manage guest lists, seating, bid number assignments, and sales all in one place.
That makes it great for our nonprofit partners and their guests. Check out Greater Giving for your next event at greatergiving.com. Link in the show notes. Welcome back. It's me, Kristin.
Sam.
Just sitting here with Sam, and we are sort of talking about the things we've learned this last event season, what we're seeing, so that folks can start to think about fall and shifts they may want to make, things they want to lean into, what that can look like. I'm going to ask Sam to get in the fundraising elevator. This is what we ask all of our guests. We're all headed up. What's that bit of wisdom or tip that you would offer our nonprofit friends so that they can continue to head up?
The biggest tip I have right now is connect with other people. I think that we will get through all of this evolution and change if we're doing it in community together. We know our resources. We're taking care of each other. We know who to call. We know who to check in on. We have been making a concerted effort to do things like bake cookies and take them to the neighbor.
Yeah.
We've been looking for community groups to tap into.
Yep.
We've been volunteering. I think that opportunity to connect is an important thing right now. And especially in the summer months, I hope people are connecting to each other and also connecting to the trees and the sun and all the good things that happen in the summer.
Yep.
What about you? What's your tip for heading up right now?
Be you. And I don't say that from a sanctimonious place. I mean that in big ways and in very small ways. I think we're inundated with a lot of information and technology right now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a compulsion to continually move our needle.
Yeah.
But we could also figure out what it looks like to not always move our needle and be ourselves, and to utilize things from that space too. And so you're enough.
Yeah.
Who you are is amazing. The work you do is impactful. Be you.
I love it. Well, that is
Season 2.
The wrap up for season 2. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a few things coming in season 3.
Of course.
So
she's always the forward seeking. So here we are.
We have a couple of highlights we wanted to call out. So first of all, next season, we are going to be doing a lot of live broadcasting from events. So we really want to focus on gatherings right now, the impact they're having. We will be broadcasting from the RAISE conference, the Nonprofit Storytelling Conference, the Elevate conference, but we want to tell your stories. So we ask all of our listeners to reach out. On our podcast website, we have a button that says Be Our Guest. I want you to click on that button and tell us about your gathering, your story. We would love to feature you on the show. We'd love to come and be a part of your event and have your event as a case study for the podcast. Additionally, this summer, we have 8 encore episodes that we're going to be replaying from this season and pull forward some of the things that we think would be really helpful right now. So our first 2 episodes we're airing are about sponsorship because, as we just said, I think that this is the time to be thinking about sponsorship. Then we're pulling forward to conversations with guests talking about intentional space and the need for us to be thinking about how we gather people and intentionality around that. And then we have 4 episodes closing us out this summer that are all about your event design. And as we get closer to fall fundraising events, we want to make sure we're giving you tools for event design. And then we'll be back in September with season 3, and we look forward to seeing everyone then. Additionally, this summer, we have our July webinar that's diving into that auction data report we just mentioned. We're going to have Carrie and Sarah from One Cause on as our guests to talk to us more about the findings in that report. In August, we have a webinar that is with Kimberly Bottom of Feather that is diving into the nonprofit marketing survey and all of the results that came out from that data study that was done all about marketing and outreach to your donors. Finally, as you're gearing up for your fundraising event in the fall, we want to be a resource to support you. So if you run into strategy needs, troubleshooting needs, we have hourly consulting support, but we also have our Gala 911 service, which is that idea that you are coming up against a deadline and you need some support. We're there to help you. So we encourage you to reach out. We encourage you to let us know where your needs are so we can be a resource. As we close our season, we want to thank our 4 incredible sponsors that were with us throughout the season. Our production partners, the AV department. They have this incredible studio. Thank you for all your hard work. Our partners at Avenue, incredible venue if you're looking for a place to host your event.
Home of Elevate, you can join us there.
The home of the Elevate Conference. Our partners at Greater Giving, our favorite event software that's out there, doing lots of great things with auction event platforms. And our partners at DC Auctions, providing you benefit auctioneering services. So thank you to those folks. Thank you for tuning in this season. We hope to see you in the fall. In the meantime, rest, refuel, take some time to read, enjoy some art, and we will see you soon.
Take care, everybody.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced in partnership with Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson, Heidi Christensen, and Adam Breeden. Video production by Shannon Doran. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. Marketing by Lisa Aragon. Support from Mary Elizabeth, Todd Campbell, John Lyles, and Andy Dowsett. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Friends, before we leave you, we want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please like, follow, subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, please share it with a friend and leave a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.